All right, hello. I'm Mitchell. I'm here with
Kevin.
We're going to be doing a deck tech for Standard, and what have you brought us?
I've brought Gruul Monsters. It's a new iteration on the Red-Green Devotion, Red-Green Monsters, and the Journey Monsters decks that have been top 80 and winning the SCG Opens and Invitationals that have been doing really well in tournaments worldwide right now. And as you know, the Red-Green Monsters deck originally started with like Gore Clan Rampagers, gain out your creatures, Gore Clanning, and then Flesh Blooding them as more of like a combo win. And then as like control decks started to take over and Red-White Burn, people started moving more towards Black as a more controlling role. And I feel Black was really good, but I feel Blue gives you a lot more options that helps you shore up the control matchup, which is already outstanding for the deck, especially with like Stormbreath Dragon, Xenagos, all the Planeswalkers. It's a really good matchup, but I feel like Blue within the main board and sideboard really helps shore up the matchup even more. You also, with Blue, get a better matchup against Black, because even though they can kill, like, most of the time they're killing all your creatures anyway, with Blue you get the ability to have, like, counter spells out of board, and Blue helps you, also allows you to play Prophet, which can allow you to flash in your creatures.
All right. Well, that's some of the strengths of the deck. What's a weakness of the deck? What do you not want to see when you're playing?
What I don't want to see is a hyper-aggressive, like mono-red, red-white, hyper-aggressive creature deck, because my deck relies mostly on Elvish Mystic, Caryatids, and Ramp to ramp up. And it may take a while to ramp up, and if they're burning me out, getting 2/1 creatures in, 2/2s with haste, like Ash Zealot, Unleashing, Rakdos Cackler, it sets me back some. Like, I have to be more careful with my lands coming into play on tap, because I play 4 basics. The rest of the lands are either, I run 8 temples and 12 shock lands. So you have to be really careful on how much damage you're taking from your lands in those matchups.
Okay. Let's take a look at the cards then.
Okay, these are the main board creatures, and as you can tell, it's already basically like the basic red-green shell. Is you got your mana ramp with 4 Elvish Mystic, 4 Caryatid. You got your basic creature setup of Courser, Krufix, Pelucranos, and Stormbreath Dragon, and the Scavenging Ooze. The one difference between the Rug Monsters, Journey Monsters, and Red-Green Monsters is Courser's better in this deck, because the Red-Green is just trying to aggro them out, and a 2/4 body really doesn't do that well. The Journey Monsters in this deck are a lot more positioned as a mid-range late-game deck, which he really helps you out with. The changes to the blue come in with your Prophet Krufix, your Aetherling, and your Prime Speaker. Aetherling's really good against Mono Black, the Black-White deck, Control, and Prophet's just really good against most matchups because it lets you just flash in your creatures. It allows you to use your mana basically, in essence, twice a turn. It helps with monsters in the Stormbreath, Pelucranos. It also untaps your mana creatures. Untaps allows you to block. Very good card. Prime Speaker is also really good because all iterations of this deck are based on emptying out your hand with creatures. And when you do that, you're basically just relying on the top of your deck and have really no form of card advantage other than Domries, which we'll get to later. But Prime Speaker allows you to put it in, and you're guaranteed card advantage because it's based on the power of highest creature you have in play. It doesn't target, which is really nice. So if you have a Pelucranos and a Courser, and she enters play and they kill your Pelucranos, you're still guaranteed to draw 3 cards. And even if they kill both creatures, you're still guaranteed 1 card, which may not seem like much, but it's still really good.
Alright, now, it's a 3-color deck.
Yes.
The Caryatids, they help with the mana. Is there, like, have you ever had any problems with mana?
No, because of the lands I'm running. They all help. The Scry lands help a lot to try to set up what lands you need. And the only problem you may come in with is the double blue on the Aetherling and Prime Speaker. But everything else is just green and 1 blue or 2 red. But all your lands allow you to play every card in the deck without a problem. It does not stretch your mana extensively at all.
Alright, let's take a look at the non-creature spells then.
Okay. As you can see again, we start off with the average red-green Journey Monsters, Planeswalkers of the Domries and the Xenagos. The blue allows you to extend a little bit and play Kiora and Ralzeric. of Planeswalkers, and the blue also allows you to play Cyclonic Rift, which is a really good card right now against Control, Aggro, Black. Most of the decks in the format yield to Cyclonic Rift, and Mizzy Mortars, which are really good against Black Bees of Pack Rat, Blood Baron, anything like that. Mizzy Mortars is really good against.
Okay, now, how do you use cards like Ralzeric and Kiora?
With Kiora, a lot of the times when I play her, I already have out a Courser, so I know what the top of my deck is. With her, a lot of the times I just minus to draw a card and play an extra land, because the mana ramp is super important in this deck, because of the high curve other than mana creatures, because basically everything starts at 3 and above, other than the mana creatures. Cura's minus is really good, because it's a source of card advantage, which older iterations of the deck did not have hardly any of, and the extra land drop's really important. The only time I use her plus to prevent the damage from a permanent is if they have, say, a Desecration Demon or a Blood Baron or something along those lines, because Demon is still a 6/6 body that flies, and it is difficult to deal with sometimes. Ralzeric's really good if you have him out, because you can tap, say you have like 4 mana available, you play that and you can untap and tap a permanent. So if you need double red, double blue, he allows you to do that, even if you have one source of that with his plus ability. His -2 is also really good in the format right now, because it's basically a lightning bolt. It does the 3 damage to target creature or player, which is really good. So say if you have Domri and him, you can fight a creature, and then you can bolt another creature if it's against an aggro deck, which is really good, because their goal is to just overpower you with creatures that are 2/2, 2/1, or 3/2s. So his minus ability is really good against them.
Alright, so Domri Raid, like, that's in every deck.
It is. It's also another source of card advantage, which is really good.
Is this card valued appropriately by the community? Is this card, like, as good as people think it is?
This card is ridiculous against control decks if you can get him turn 2 or turn 3. He's really good against other creature matchups, because most of my creatures are bigger than theirs with the fight ability. He's also really good against aggro, because if you land him turn 2, they don't want you to use him. They want to kill him, so it takes the pressure off your life total, because they have to concentrate on him more than you at that point. So it allows you to establish your board.
Okay, let's take a look at the lands.
Okay. As you can see, it's basically a 3-color mana base of most decks right now that run 3 colors. It has your temples that allow you to scry. It has your 8 to 12 shock lands, and it runs some basics, so you don't take as much damage from your lands. The scry lands are actually really good in this deck versus some of the other monsters decks, because of Kiora allowing you to play extra lands. You can scry, see what's on top of your deck, and if it's a land, you can draw with her and play it. Scry lands are also very good with Courser, because they allow you to scry. You can put a land to the bottom, keep a land, depending on what you want to do with him. They also help you set up Domri Raid pluses also. So you can, if you play a temple, there's a land you can put to the bottom and try to hit with Domri. So they help you out a lot with your mana fixing too, depending on what lands you want to keep and put to the bottom. And they also help you so you don't flood out. The shock lands are good. They help you establish your mana. And most of the lands involve red, because of the double red spells with Storm Breath, the blue with the double blue with Aetherling and Prime Speaker, and then you have your Forest and Mountain, which help you reestablish that you can play an Elvish Mystic on turn 1.
Alright. The deck does seem to have a lot of top of your library manipulation.
Yeah, which helps out a lot.
Do you think you would want more, or is this like just the right amount?
I think it's just the right amount of top deck manipulation with Domri, Scrylands, Courser, Prime Speaker. I consider her manipulation because she allows you to draw those cards. Kiora, definitely. It's just the right amount. Any less, it's still not bad, but I feel like this deck helps you ensure that you hit threats against the decks that you need to hit threats against.
All right. Let's take a look at your sideboard then. Can't talk today. Okay, what do we got here?
Okay. In the sideboard, we have our classic red-green sideboard of Mistcutter, Rurik Thar, which are obviously very good against control. The blue in the main board allows us to play counterspells on our sideboard that also help in the control matchup and black matchups such as Negate and Syncopate. The Nylee's Disciple is really good against any form of burn, aggro deck. The Jace Memory Depth is also very good against control matchup. Mizzium Mortars and Turn and Burn you want to bring in against any creature-heavy deck. The Turn and Burn is also very good against the black-white matchup now because they're turning more towards Obsidat over Blood Baron. So just an way to deal with Obsidat's very good. Rurik Thar's good actually in a lot of matchups. He's good against the black decks. He's good against control. He also is very good against red-white burn because if you are able to land him early enough, every single one of their cards does 6 damage to them. So any burn they're doing to you is between 2 to 4 damage. If you have him out, they're taking 6 to do it. So, and he attacks each turn for 6, so they don't really have any answer to him if you land him. Mistcutter is good against control. He's also good in creature matchups because just to get him out there as a blocker is very good. You bring in the third Mizzium Mortars in creature matchups, Turn and Burn creature matchups. Syncopate's also very good early game in certain matchups because you're just able to keep up 2 mana and they tap out, you play Syncopate. It's also very good against the burn decks because a lot of times they're restricted on the amount of mana they have. So just the ability to Syncopate for 1 and keep them off of War Leader's Helix or anything like that. It's also very good against Chandra's Phoenix because a lot of times they stop at 3 to 4 mana. And a lot of times they scry lands to the bottom and they're just bottlenecked on lands at that point.
Alright. Now, when you bring in Jace, what do you use him for? What do you use as plus or do you use as zero?
He is also another form of card advantage. Depending on the matchup or depending on situational, a lot of times I will use his plus because I just want to keep drawing cards, keep my hand filled with threats. If I already have an established board of creatures, I will use his 0 against control decks because they can't answer him and the creatures. But if I don't have an established creature board, I will use his plus to establish a board of creatures. Because in the control match, they have Detention Sphere and Supreme Verdict. But if you have creatures and him, they either have to Detention Sphere him or Supreme Verdict your creatures. A lot of the times they don't have both because they've been countering your spells or you've been gaining with damage and you have other planeswalkers already out.
Alright. And the Disciples here.
They're really good against aggro creature decks and the burn decks because it's a 3/3 body that blocks very well. It gains you life equal to your devotion to green when it comes in. So even if it's only for 2, that's still 2 more damage. So that counteracts a shock or half of a War Leader's Helix. It's also good because most of the times you have a Mana Dork in play. So he's normally gaining you above 3 life when he comes in.
Okay. Alright, seems pretty strong. Hope you do well with it.
Yep.
Hope our audience likes this.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.